In our last video, we explored why sitting in silence feels heavy. When the noise stops, the mind has no choice but to face itself. Most of us don't stay in that quiet for long. We treat silence like a vacuum that needs to be filled, leading to an immediate reflex to look for a way out. We reach for the phone, we open social media, shifting our attention from our own internal state to the visible lives of others. Within seconds, we process curated successes, seeing brand new jobs, perfectly happy relationships, and milestones of constant forward motion. This is when the internal shift happens. Even if you were perfectly fine a minute ago, observing these highlights makes your own life feel smaller. This diagram maps the disconnect. The line on the left is your physical reality. Nothing in your room or your actual life has changed. But the line on the right shows your mental state plummeting as you ingest those images. Comparison leaves your physical world untouched, while it reconfigures how you see it. It turns a stable life into an inadequate one, through a change in perspective alone. Because this shift in mood happens so quickly, it feels like a natural reflex. But comparison is a psychological habit we develop to navigate the world. This habit grows from a foundational assumption, the idea that I am a distinct entity, completely separate from everyone else. When we view ourselves as separate, the mind treats relationships like a geometry problem, generating a grid to measure the distance between me and them. It creates a vertical hierarchy, deciding who is ahead and behind, focusing only on the towering stack above. This upward focus serves a specific purpose. The mind is looking for evidence to confirm a pre-existing feeling that we aren't enough. By constantly finding people who are further ahead, we reinforce a specific narrative about who we are and where we fit in the world. We cling to this painful cycle because it gives us a clear, defined identity. Feeling like the person who is behind is a heavy burden, but the mind prefers that burden over the groundless silence of having no label at all. The force driving this need for labels and measurement is the ego. The ego exists only through contrast. It defines itself by its boundaries, by how it is different from everything else. If you remove the labels of better or worse, the ego loses its framework. Without a point of comparison, it has no way to justify its own importance. This leads to a strange survival tactic. The ego chooses the pain of feeling inferior over the threat of its own disappearance. It would rather suffer than let is the name for the duality that makes us see the world as a collection of separate, competing parts. Maya convinces us that we are exclusively this body and this specific identity, cut off from everything around us. In this state of perceived isolation, everyone else becomes the other. They are no longer people we are connected to, but competitors we must measure ourselves against. Ultimately, comparison uses the other as a mirror for an internal insecurity. We project the belief that we aren't enough onto the world to keep the ego occupied with a race it can never win. We often tell ourselves that once we reach a certain level of success, the insecurity will stop. We think we can win the game of comparison. But even when we achieve a major goal, the sense of relief is short-lived. The high of winning fades almost as soon as it arrives. You achieve something, and for a moment you feel good, but then the mind finds someone better again, and the race continues. No finish line. This is a race with no finish line. The pressure to be more is a permanent feature of the grid, not a problem you can solve by climbing higher. Imagine instead dropping the measurement entirely. What happens to your identity when you stop using others to define it? When you stop mapping your life on a grid, the mental noise fades. You are left with a quiet sense of presence as you return to your actual experience. In this state, you realize that being behind was a concept created by the grid itself. It was a distraction from the reality of your life. Living is an experience that exists independently of the grid. It doesn't require a second party to validate its value. But if comparison is just a distraction, we have to look closer at the hunger behind it. In the next video, we'll ask, why does the mind demand more even after every goal has been met?